But let's jump to this story from Timcast.com about Beto O'Rourke, a sick SOB, says the town mayor. O'Rourke interrupts Uvalde's school shooting press conference, gets called a sick son of a bee by town mayor. Talk about one of the most disgusting things. Look, man, I got my disagreements with Beto O'Rourke, that's for sure. He's a goofy guy who thinks he can skateboard. He can barely stand on the board as it is. And he says, heck yeah, we're going to take your guns. Okay, those are bad ideas, but this was just the worst. Texas gubernatorial candidate Beto O'Rourke was escorted out of a press conference about the Robb Elementary tragedy on Wednesday after an outburst aimed at current Governor Greg Abbott, saying that the governor, it was totally predictable. The governor was doing nothing. This is the stupidest thing ever because Texas has constitutional carry. So what do you mean doing nothing? A crazy person did something really crazy, and Beto has offered no solutions. Not a single Democrat has offered any tangible solution. Not a single one. Period. I will say that as a statement of fact. They can come out and offer up their empty ideas and meaningless. They love to rag on conservatives. Thoughts and prayers. What's the difference between common sense gun reform and background checks? It's meaningless. It will do nothing, solve nothing. And what does common sense even mean? Right. They're saying the exact same things when they criticize thoughts and prayers. They're offering nothing.
Yeah. If you can 3D print a gun, I mean, what does any of that really mean?
Exactly.
You know, it's the technological age. Again, I'm going back to, I mean, that's really the future. It doesn't really matter. And I don't think Republicans have offered many good solutions either. I have to say that because no one's getting to the root of the problem, which is the culture. I mean, it's the culture that's a problem that is affecting these young men. I mean, we have failed our young men to a degree that this is happening. I mean, from 1903 to 1960 or 70, I believe, there were 3 mass shootings in America in total. Really? And now you have all this happening. I mean, multiple a year, and it's a problem of culture.
It is narcissism.
Yeah.
I think modern America and many other countries in the world, but I can only speak for the culture here, is just we are sitting beneath a blanket of narcissism, especially for the millennial generation and younger.
What do you think that stems from?
Man, I don't know. I think it probably is rooted in this idea that, you know, when I was growing up, I was told you can be anything you want to be, like an astronaut or a rock star, all of these things. Where is the humble culture that says there is something special in a good, hard day's work? Be a carpenter.
You know what I'd say? If I think about that a little bit more, I would say it's society that asks nothing of people, like of young men, for example, and certainly not the things that we used to think were good qualities for young men to have. If you ask nothing of young people, what will they do? They'll just sort of think only about how they are, how they feel, who they are, and therefore will become narcissistic because there's nothing that society demands of them.
I saw this Libs of TikTok video just before the show. It was this woman talking about her polyamorous relationships. And she's like, I call it a polycule because it's like a molecule, but it's like all the different relationships we have. And then she made like, you ever see those conspiracy theory wall things where they take the red twine to the thumbtacks? It was that, but all the people she was like married, she was married to one guy, dating another guy. And she says, it's just the funniest thing ever. She goes, okay, let me show it to you now. At the center is me. And I just bust out laughing when I heard that. I'm like, I know that she doesn't mean it's all about me necessarily, but that's what it is.
That's what it conveys.
That's all about what it is. My life, my experience, and nothing else. The people who are this, it's funny, the socialists are the most selfish people I've ever met.
Oh, yeah.
Ironic.
I mean, you guys are a little bit older than me, but I talk to a lot of men my age and older, maybe a little bit younger.
How old are you?
25. Yeah. 160 pounds. Right. Yeah. And I'll talk to a lot of young men and they'll be like, we'll be talking about World War II or World War I or something, or, you know, even medieval knights or something. And they'll say, man, I wish I could have been there. I wish I could have been fighting in something like this or been a part of something like this.
Yeah, you see, again, that society asks nothing of them, so they crave those types of things.
There's nothing for them to do. There is no great war for them. There's no great purpose for them. They move to San Francisco and work in some marketing department of some new tech startup, and their life sucks and they have no meaning.
There's one thing they can do: psychoactive drugs, courtesy of pharmaceutical companies like Klonopin for 14-year-olds and stuff.
Well, it's basically speed, but legal speed.
How many of these shooters are on some sort of drug? I want to know, because you see their eyes at half the time. I mean, I see the one guy who looked like the Joker from Batman. His eyes are real wide. The other guy, Lanza or something, had big eyes real wide. Adam Lanza. And I think was this person a cross dressing the shooter in
That's
Texas?
not real.
That was fake. Okay, that's a fake meme. I don't know if this person was on some sort of psychoactive, if their parents were on some sort of drug, but I think that's a big part of it.
I mean, there are cities in America that run out of Adderall for young men. That they prescribe it so much to kids that they run out and have to re-up in these cities.
That's a question that needs to be asked about the prescriptions of amphetamines and mind-altering chemicals.
Yep.
I want to read this quote. It's just such a good quote, and for those that have seen Fight Club, you know the quote. Tyler Durden, he says, "Man, I see in Fight Club the strongest and smartest men who've ever lived. I see all this potential and I see it squandered. An entire generation pumping gas, waiting tables, slaves with white collars. Advertising has us chasing cars and clothes, working jobs we hate so we can buy ish we don't need. We're the middle children of history, man. No purpose or place. We have no great war, no great depression. Our great war is a spiritual war. Our great depression is our lives. We've all been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars, but we won't. And we're slowly learning that fact, and we are very, very pissed off." What's amazing is, man, I feel like this movie came out, like 99?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And think about what we're experiencing today with millennials. All of a sudden starting to realize they're not going to be celebrities. They're not going to be rock stars. They're not going to be astronauts. Yo, you need to just go get a job.
Yep. Well, I love the line in the movie, we're a generation of men raised by women. I'm starting to wonder if another woman is exactly what we need. And I think that goes not into just, I love you. I love having a fiance. But in terms of a generation of men, we've become so weak, and that any sort of struggle or outside force that is challenging us is something that we should be fearful of and that we should push away instead of embracing it and saying, okay, we're going to take on this thing that's really hard. You know, I think that's a really important thing.
I think, what I've seen over and over again, and it's probably mostly true, Democrats are the party of the higher income earners.
Yep.
These are many of these, they're the party of college degrees. They have student loan debt, and they're demanding the working class pay their debts for them. I mean, it is just gluttony. It is just pure gluttony.
I spent some time chopping wood. I was like, I've been pretty privileged in my life, so I'm gonna do some manual labor. And I still had a machine that was like gas powered hydraulic thing once I got the huge log up on it. But at the end of the day, I was broken. My body was broken, and I realized why we build machines to do manual labor, because it's devastating. I couldn't even think. I couldn't be creative. I was like, fell asleep early. So I understand why people don't want to do that. And maybe we don't have to do jobs. I mean, job economy is like Federal Reserve crap. We don't. They want us busy and borrowing their money so that we can pay them back with interest.
But Ian, exercising is not destructive. It's not bad for you. It's good for you.
Hurts at first.
It wasn't just exercise, though. It was like grueling labor as well. It was beyond exercise.
No, but if you have to do that type of manual labor day in, day out, of course you're going to have your back ruined earlier on than if you would do another type of job. But that's like, back then, you would have your family then take over and take care of you. So that's why family structures were and still are so important, but become less and less important if you have people lead autonomous life where they're just behind their computers, and
even community. Like, you pitch in if your neighbor is hurt, you pitch in and mow their lawn for them. But if everyone's in their isolated chamber, you don't even notice it.
But that's exactly the type of life they have in mind for us. If that's not clear to people by now, after how they treated us during the COVID pandemic, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's very clear that that's the type of life that they want you to have. They want you to sit down behind your computer, do your job, meet people in the metaverse, eat your food ordered by, brought to you by a migrant, an illegal migrant probably, to your door, and then that you didn't make, or you meet people on Tinder, and that's sort of the life that they want for you. I guess if you don't see that by now, then I don't know what to tell you.
I think we're gonna at some point see one of the ultimate weapons in fifth generational warfare. You know what that is? Artificial intelligence indistinguishable from a regular person.
Right.
Yes.
Because then you're in the metaverse. You go into these chat rooms. They already exist. You get the Oculus. You guys ever do this? And you go, I don't know what it's called, like VR live chat or something.
I've never done it before.
And there's like avatars walking around, and you can talk to people. You'll walk up to someone, and they'll be like, "Yo, what's up? My name's John. I'm from Springfield, Illinois. I skateboard and hang out at this bar." And you're gonna be like, "This is a cool person," and it's not a person. It is a programmed AI meant to control your thoughts and opinions.
Or you'll go up to a guy and be like, "That's not a real person, that's an AI," but it will be a real person. And they're like, "Take me seriously, I just don't have good communication skills." I don't think the AI is ever going to have emotions. I think if we have clear enough minds, we'll be able to discern.
I don't know,
They
man.
have AI that has consciousness now.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Allen reported on that, who you guys had on a couple days ago. I mean, AI with consciousness.
How is that determined, though?
I'd have to go through it. It's one of the competitors from Google. One of the
Isn't it basically the idea that the algorithm is so advanced that they can sort of imitate your thoughts?
Yeah,
like
basically.
the algorithm is so good that you wouldn't be able to tell if you're talking to algorithm Will or if you're talking to Will.
Look at Twitter already. You'll tweet something and they'll say, you're a bot. You can't even have a conversation because everyone's accusing everyone else of not being a real
Right.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the crazy things I was reading about was they'll take your Facebook profile because they know everything about you. They know when you poop. I know it's funny and a lot of people probably laugh, but it's true. They can actually predict when you have to go to the bathroom. They know when you're going to eat because they have all of this data. They know your family. They know how you speak because you've posted for years. They can create an AI bot based on you to actually answer questions about your life. This is crazy. I was reading this thing. It was like, your dad could die, and then let's say you message your dad and say, "Hey, Dad," and he'll say, "Hey, Tim, how have you been?" Because the profile has family members in it already. It knows everything about you.
That was literally the
But
Black Mirror.
That's
episode.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they'll probably do that and they'll sell it to
Yeah.
you in that way and say like, oh, isn't it nice that if you lose your husband in a tragic accident and you need to go through therapy and all of these things, like, wouldn't it be great for people to continue talking to them, for example? It might be sold to you that way.
Here's the craziest thing, though. Have you guys seen, what is it, the Haunting, I think it is?
No.
The
There's
scary movie.
Yeah, scary movies.
Yeah.
Old.
Yeah.
It's the only one I can really think of where you see this, where it's like all of these different people are in the wall and they're like, their faces are coming like they're trapped in it. When you go on to your Facebook page or whatever to talk to a deceased loved one, and they'll have a real conversation with you, and you're sitting there looking at the screen crying, being like, I miss you, Dad, man, I miss you. Behind the screen is this disgusting horror monster that with like drooling, just creepy, empty eyes, and it's going, I love you too, son.
You're not talking about Zuckerberg, are you?
What I mean is,
Just
He's
kidding,
watching.
Mark. I love
you're
you.
getting this filtered message from what appears to be your dad, but behind that is an amalgam of all of these monstrous ideas, this demon creature that it's like, imagine a gigantic, just zombie monster with melting face and blood coming out, and then all of a sudden it gets a little girl's voice and starts talking to you like it's your actual daughter you lost in a car accident.
Right.
It's like, I miss you, Daddy. And you're like, that thing is not my daughter. That's what you're going to be talking to.
Right. Well, it's like, taking nicotine patches when you quit smoking versus like actually just quitting it altogether. And it's like sometimes it can be actually worse for you
Yeah.
by doing it this way.
Yeah.
Right?
I
And it's
mean-
like you should if someone in your family dies, this is a part of life that everyone has to deal with. But again, this is all about taking away our humanity.
Yes.
All these things
Everything's
are taking away
unnatural.
humanity. Yes.
It strikes me that they don't have emotion. Machines don't have emotion. Even our artificial machines, they have intelligence. We off-put our intelligence into these machines so that they can do computations, but I have yet to see any form of emotion in any of it. Maybe we need to define what emotion means.
If they can emulate emotion through an algorithm, I mean, if these people think that they are God, who are creating these brain chips and all these other things, this AI, then they think that your brain is essentially just a thing working up there, that synapses and electrodes and all these kind of things. Then they can emulate that in an AI to create emotions to present to you.
Do you believe in
The
God? Do
future
you guys
sounds
believe in a
great,
God?
Yes.
I'm a
There's
Christian.
God.
Newly
I'm not,
baptized
but I still
Christian.
believe
Yeah.
that there is a God-like essence. That's whether it's consciousness, speaking into our black hole that we're within. That's within another universe. That's a black hole where there's all these competing vibrations. I don't know, but I don't think machines can emulate. I don't know. I don't want to say they can't, but I've never seen any evidence that they can emulate that.
I think the machine. I got to say, a lot of this sounds demonic. To quote Alex
Yes.
Jones, demons. I don't literally mean like hell spawn rising from cracks in the earth and like bleh. It's just like this idea that we have simulated. We've created a program, a machine to convince you that it's alive, that's a real person, it's a facsimile. It's like you look into a mirror and then just this doppelganger face emerges out and you know it's not a real person. That's a scary thought.
That's probably more demonic than what you're talking about, like the real zombies crawling up from the earth.
Yeah.
Like this is more demonic in a sense that this is something that numbs people down. So then you don't know what's happening to you. You become the zombie.
We are.
That's right.
You know what I've criticized free markets often. It's funny when people on Twitter is so hyper polarized. They can't possibly imagine I would, because I think that one of the results of a totally unfettered market is I guess self gratification to the human mind, like things that make you feel good, which is simulated love, like those AI bots, AI girlfriends you can download or whatever. Then video games in general to give you rewards for accomplishing things when you're not really accomplishing anything.
Caffeine. I'm about to drink some right now.
Well, caffeine's a psychoactive stimulant, so we want to stay awake. We want to be energized, and it makes you euphoric.
I saw Yuval Noah Harari, he's one of these World Economic Forum guys, saying like it's drugs and video games. That seems like where they want to put themselves. These useless eaters, he was referring to them as.
I think there's a problem with the conservative, old school conservative.
So he called them useless eaters.
Yeah, in a clip I saw, it might have been out of context, but yeah, he said.
Oh, he says the scariest things. Like anybody should look that up. Like the things he says about transhumanism and the way that we are going to be controlled through transhumanism, through these technologies, it's absolutely scary.
Let me see if I can pull up the useless eater clip for you.
Yeah. I know that people have made those references. I never knew that one of those guys actually said that.
Oh, he says all those things. Everything that you think that he does that is like made up, he says it.
Not a conspiracy theory.
No, it's real. And he says it like at World Economic Forum events where all our leaders are convening right now as we speak, and nobody seems to care.
And news media.
It's totally normal.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like, no, I typed in useless eaters on Twitter. I'm looking for it. It's kind of like he's just sees the writing on the wall. Like in one way of looking at it, the utilitarian way is like, yeah, maybe there is a class of like drugged out use. I don't think they're useless, but what are they going to do? What are these people? Are we overpopulated? I don't know. I go both ways. I'm like, no, obviously not. We're just malformed. We can spread out, use magnetic trains.
It is people like him that have resulted in people being useless because they want.
Yes, they want you to be mindless consumers, and
exactly.
That's it.
And that's like going back to it. What is the small government solution for these kind of things? Like you can't just rely on the free market for all these kind of things. When it comes to stuff in schools with kids, I mean, what's a small government solution to stopping the trans ideology being pushed? There's
only one solution, and it's culture.
Yeah,
it is that we have a shared set of values and ideas that drive us towards something better.
Great.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.